One day last week, I had an idea to turn a Halloween candy bucket into a 3D pumpkin cake, and the next day it ended up happening. So let's get into it. The original plan was to make a replica of a Halloween candy bucket, but once I got into it, I kind of realized that they just aren't quite as detailed as I maybe remember them being. And I wanted to do more of the deep ridges that would be on a real pumpkin, and on the Halloween candy bucket, there's hardly any ridges at all. So we pivoted a little bit and ended up doing more of a realistic jack-o'-lantern instead of the candy bucket jack-o'-lantern. I also decided that if I was going to go the candy bucket route, I was going to want to make it look like candy was overflowing out of the top, and I just wasn't ready to be that committed to this cake, so we went with the more realistic route. I severely underestimated how long it was going to take me to smooth out buttercream on all of these ridges. I've done a 3D pumpkin cake before, but the last one was covered in fondant, so this was definitely more time consuming, but I really wanted it to be in buttercream. Once I got it most of the way smooth, I ended up brushing it with a fan brush, and it gave it that kind of ripply pumpkin texture, so it ended up working out. Once I was done smoothing it out, I put the cake in the cooler to really set up the buttercream because I wanted to carve the jack-o'-lantern face into the buttercream instead of just placing fondant pieces on the top of the buttercream. This was definitely an added step, and it would have been just fine to place the fondant on the top of the cake, but I really wanted to just give it more dimension, and I feel like it just gave the face so much more depth. Once I had the face in place, the last step to do was make the fondant stem for the top. I started by forming the general shape of the stem that I wanted, and then used a couple different fondant tools to add the ridges and some texture to it to make it look a little more realistic. Then I just smoothed it out a little bit to make it look like it was attached to the pumpkin and not just sitting on top. And here's the final result. I'm obsessed with how this cake turned out, and I'm so glad I ended up going the more realistic route versus doing the candy bucket.